the Atlanta Falcons decided that they're one game out of winning the division in the playoff spot, and Kirk Cousins hasn't played well for 5 weeks, and they're going to go with Penix, the rookie, who's played one series, Rob G, right? One series. Penix, I think, all year, Ephraim. That's it. And they're going to go with him over Kirk Cousins. And I think this is just a ridiculous, terrible decision, only from this standpoint. Kirk Cousins, before their last game that they won, had thrown 8 interceptions and no touchdowns. So they kept playing him. Then he throws 1 touchdown and 1 pick, and they win the game. And now is it time to take him out when they're playing the New York Football Giants next week, a bad football team that they should be able to beat? And instead you're going to put a rookie quarterback who has never made a start in the NFL in a playoff game. I'm stumped about this. This doesn't make sense. And if you told me you benched Kirk Cousins 3 weeks ago, then I'm all with it, right? When he was going no touchdowns and 8 interceptions for 4 weeks total. What? He just won the game. I know he hasn't played well, and I'm not a big Kirk Cousins guy, but does this make sense, the timing? I'm surprised.
Well, the one thing I do know, and seeing it from that perspective, it doesn't make sense because you're still in competition to win the division. Playoff berth is at risk, but this is what I do know. Whenever you have young players, especially high-round draft picks, and they're not starting right away, what happens as the season gets going, you look on your schedule, like coaches, GMs, personnel, upstairs personnel, they look at their schedule and then they start to circle games. They take the pen out and they start circling games where you think can give that young player a better opportunity to have success. So if you're looking at their schedule, when you get down to where they are now after, the 4-game losing streak, and they came out and they were adamant about, hey, we're sticking with Kirk Cousins. You win this game against the Raiders, doesn't look good, and then you say, hey, look, we got a home game against the Giants. You don't want to have him make his first start on the road unless he's starting from day one. Like, you don't want to set him up for that. So after the 4-game losing streak and you have the Raiders at Oakland, you don't want to put him in the crosshairs of Max Crosby, the fans. You want to try to manufacture and craft the best possible situation for a young player, especially a quarterback. So looking at their schedule and their record, you land on this one. It can't be next week at the Commanders unless he balls out, right? But you don't want him to go on the road to a Commanders team that's, poised to make a run into the playoffs at the Commanders.
So you basically punted on the postseason.
Yeah, it was either. This is what it sounds like. Either you were going to do the Giants. Either you're going to do the Giants this week, or in 2 weeks the Panthers at home. Well, either one of those. The last game of the season.
But my point is, try to beat the Giants are beatable, right?
Yes, so they are.
Let the veteran quarterback play, who did finally have a touchdown, and he did have a pick, right? And you won the game. If you lose that game, okay, then you can reevaluate and just say, forget it. We're just going to go with the kid, and we don't care. But that's the game. You put the kid in who hasn't played. What if he has two or three interceptions? You lose to the bad Giants at home. I think that's bad for the organization, for the team, for everybody to say, why would you start him now in a game that was winnable with a veteran quarterback? What did you sign him for 4 years with all that guaranteed money, and he can't beat the Giants at home?
And that's the perplexing
What game can he play in?
Yeah, that's the perplexing thing for me is you have so much guaranteed money tied up in Kirk Cousins.
He's getting all that money next year. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah, he's getting it all.
No matter what. No matter
every dime.
He can get cut, and he's going to get
every single cent.
Exactly.
He's getting it. Now, I get the notion of we need to see what Penix can do, but you don't necessarily have to do that this year. Not when you're on the cusp of possibly sneaking into the playoffs. That 4-game losing streak really hurt. You lose at the Saints, at the Broncos, the Chargers, and at the Vikings. That's a tough 4 games. That's a tough 4 games. And so now go to the Raiders, beat the Raiders. You have the Giants. You feel like you can control the situation. You do want to see Michael Penix, what he looks like in a game. Me personally, it doesn't make sense unless he's going to start the remaining 3 games.
100%. 100%. If he has a bad game and they lose to the Giants,
it doesn't matter. You got to stick with him.
Right. It doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. That makes and then go, oh, Kirk Cousins play against the Commanders next week. What?
Yeah, and Kurt's been around. He's a veteran quarterback, streaky quarterback. He's won big games, lost a lot of games.
No doubt. But I just don't think
they are still scary. In position, right? They're still in position to go 10-7. That should get them in the playoffs. And if they're willing to punt on that or forego that just to see what Michael Penix can do. This is not a situation that Mike Tomlin had in Pittsburgh earlier, right? We don't know who Michael Penix is in terms of being an NFL quarterback. They can't wait to see who he is, so they're kind of, cutting off their nose to spite their face. You're willing to give up an opportunity to go to the playoffs or finish 10-7 just to see what you guys drafted. Well, that shouldn't be the game plan because you paid Kurt, then you drafted him anyway, so you should have something in place unless Kurt got hurt.
Right.
To where we're not. This is a learning.
What did you sign a veteran quarterback for with that kind of guaranteed money? And here's playoffs right in your face. You can't take for granted making the playoffs, right? If you're the GM or you're the coach. And you got a team, and you're like, wait a minute, we have a chance if the Bucs lose and we win, and we're tied, and there's 2 games left. Like, there's a real chance, and Michael Penix might light it up for all I know. It's the Giants, right? But he also might wet the bed, and then you got to question the front office and the coaching staff. What are you doing in this situation? All right,